Welcome to Can, the marketing podcast. I'm Ben from Human Digital, the B2B marketing agency.
And I'm Steph from Q Marketing, making brands shine since ages ago.
This week, we're talking about strategy, what it actually is, what it definitely is not, and why so many businesses think they have one when they really don't.
So get out your Cascade of Choices. Today, we're singing the greatest hits, where to play, how to win, and what not to do.
Remember, we release an episode every week, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. Happy Wednesday, Steph.
Happy Wednesday, Ben. How's it going? Wednesday after a long weekend.
It is. It was good, a good long weekend. So we have a family tradition on my mother's side that we all go to Waihi Beach. And it was a very, very wet weekend. There were spots of sunshine, but it was wet enough that the annual sandcastle competition got cancelled. So, yeah. But we still had fun. We still played a lot of card games. We play 500, not personally, but it's a family favorite. Catchphrase and a lot of other board games. We also play volleyball. We do cub games. And spend lots of time at the beach. We all cook. A lot of new family members. So there's often around 40 people that come along, so it's a big event, and we've got some new additions to the family. So it was great meeting all of the new kids.
Oh, that's really exciting! Cute. I love a family tradition. You can't beat it.
It was really cute. And then on Sunday went to a movie with friends. So saw The Housemaid, who is a new movie. Sydney Sweeney is the lead. And
I feel like Sydney Sweeney's almost a guest on this podcast. We talk about her so often.
Her acting is amazing. So The Housemaid is a thriller. It has a lot of dry comedy. And I would recommend it. If you like a bit of a jump scare, it's the one to see, and there might be a sequel coming as well. They definitely left it open for the option for a sequel at the end.
So it's not a horror; it's more of a thriller. Is that how you would describe it?
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's a horror. I mean, it is quite graphic, but it's good fun. What did you get up to on the weekend?
Okay, so much like yourself, I also have a tradition on Auckland Anniversary Weekend, but it's with 40 of my school friends. And typically for the last 14 years, we've been going up to the Bay of Islands and we've been going up to Kaiwi Lakes. And we decided that this year was the year that we were going to go up to the Bay of Islands and take the boats to Urapukapuka. But in light of all of the wet weather, there was a lot of pivoting, a pivot and a pivot and a pivot. So much pivot. And so we ended up we're like, where do you go when it's raining?
Movies, shopping mall.
Yes. You go to the adventure capital of New Zealand and you go to Rota Vegas.
Vegas.
Yeah. So it was great. We mountain biked. We went to the secret spot.
Did you luge?
We did not luge, but tell you what I did do. So I've recently acquired a new client in the animal space. And so to celebrate that, I went to a cat cafe.
Oh, how was the cat cafe? That sounds really cute.
Kind of weird. It's kind of weird because I'd never been to one before. So there were 31 cats. Have you been to one
in Newmarket? Yeah, I haven't. I've walked past them there, but I haven't been into one. I mean, I do like cats. I'm not going to lie. I like cats and I like dogs. What was weird about it?
I think it was I didn't know what to do with myself when I walked in there because, you're not supposed to pick the cats up. So you sort of to go in and there's signs everywhere saying, this is their space, leave them alone, let them come to you. And so they're all a little bit docile. And I was like, I can't even see 31 cats. Anyway, then they throw some food in halfway through and all the cats come running out. And then all of a sudden they get excited. So there are a lot of ragdoll cats in this particular cat cafe. That was a highlight. And then we did manage to get some time on the lake and we did some biscuiting and wakeboarding. Look, I love Rotorua. So it's just you can have a different experience there every time you go. For lots of families with teenagers, it was perfect. Yeah.
Cats and biscuits.
Cats, biscuits, and boating. There we go.
Oh my goodness.
Now, give us. It's kind of been a big week for news. and a lot of this news, there's a weather element to it. Take us through what's been happening here and in New Zealand. I mean, sorry, here and in Australia.
Yeah, so the Australian Open is in full swing. So hot off the back of well, it's not ASB anymore, is it? It is
Yeah.
the Auckland Tennis.
ASB is
Uh,
still a sponsor, though, of the.
yeah, I think
Okay.
that's just the court that's changed.
Mm.
So hot off the New Zealand Open, the Australian Open is in full swing. So this is a massive opportunity for brands. So you've got
Mm.
signage, you've got brand activations, you've got tennis players wearing different clothes, and yeah, it's amazing. Major sponsors this year include ANZ, Rolex, Kia, and Emirates. And there's also a lot of alcohol sponsors, so Aperol and Canadian Club. And yeah, it's essentially just one big party. So my social feed has been full of Australian Open. And I think it hit something crazy like 45 degrees in Melbourne the other day.
Oh,
So
it's
it is
outrageous.
hot, hot.
So, a couple of things that I personally have loved about the Australian Open. I Australian Open's got its own logo, which I'm really enjoying. Like, are you seeing that on your social feed? Like,
AO,
lots of it's
mm,
cool. Like, I think
it's
that's
very good.
awesome.
Great
Um,
branding.
and you know how we kept threatening to do a fashion episode? Have
Mm,
you heard the story about the tennis player who came out in some
Cape. And
yeah,
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 amazing with an umbrella and
yes.
flowy. Yeah, apparently she's a diva as well. And I think she won that game that she came out in that cute outfit. I haven't been following the actual tennis, just everything around the tennis.
Just because we are a marketing
Just the
podcast after
marketing.
all. We're not a sports
Indeed.
podcast.
But no, interestingly, my second news item is sport related as well. But the Super Bowl is coming up. So on the
Oh,
8th of
yes.
February, Super Bowl is hitting. So it's being played at the Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara in California. And it's one of the biggest ad events of the year. Some people call it the Olympics of advertising with snacks.
Yeah.
And yeah, a lot of brands will release their ads on that
On the
day.
Super Bowl.
But
Yeah.
yeah, some brands are already releasing teasers. So we've got a teaser from Squarespace, Uber Eats, and Budweiser. So they're all big budget ads. And I'm sure a lot of those ads will end up in Cannes for Cannes Lions
A
in a
hundred.
few months as well.
I think we should almost do a little bit of it. We should carve some time out and do a bit of a debrief of this, because the premise behind Super Bowl advertising is changing somewhat. It's not the guaranteed, like you can cop a lot of flack. I think it's one of the most expensive ad spots you can possibly
100%.
buy. Can you guess what I'm going to ask next about the Super Bowl?
Does it guarantee an award?
No. Do you think Sydney Sweeney will be in it?
Oh, probably actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So anyway, I think, I mean, I remember back in the day we used to all kind of stop work and look at all the Super Bowl ads, and your feed will get filled up pretty quickly with, who's won Super Bowl and what exciting ads there are. So, I think that'll be exciting. And you're right, some of them probably will go into Cannes Awards.
And the other big event of the game, which is not the game, which is the halftime show, and Bad
Oh,
Bunny has been confirmed as the halftime show headliner. But there's also pre-game and opening performances as well.
oh,
Green Day for all the
yeah.
millennials and boomers. Charlie Puth, who is one of my faves, he's actually going to be singing the Star Spangled Banner.
Oh my God, that'd be
Uh,
amazing.
Brandy Charlie, Coco Jones. So yeah, if you like sport or you like ads and music,
Yeah.
it's something for everyone.
Something for I imagine that tickets are so expensive to go to Super Bowl
I
now.
can only
Yeah,
I can only imagine.
it'd be outrageous.
What do you have in your news, Steph?
Oh, just another because one of the terms that were coined when I on this trip to Rotorua is that we're calling ourselves boomers in training, and I feel like that's quite apt because my latest soapbox that I've jumped on is Easter eggs. So it's
I
January.
love Easter eggs. I'm jumping all over those Easter eggs.
Okay, so it's the 28th of January, and 4 days ago I saw Easter eggs in the warehouse, like a
hmm
whole
They're
stand
in the
of them.
supermarkets already, 100%.
Okay, so you've self-confessed and said that you've already had 3 cream eggs.
Yeah,
I don't think
I
that
love a
counts as
cream
an
egg.
that doesn't count as an Easter egg.
But they only come out at Easter, so
Okay.
it is. And the other thing that I like is the little small packets of the
Many eggs.
candy-coated chocolate eggs as well. I love
Yeah.
those as well.
Yes.
I love
So
I'm a sucker for a checkout treat, Steph.
this is
I
where
can't go past it.
this is where we differ because I can take or leave chocolate. Like you can open up a whole block of chocolate in front of me and I won't touch it. But what I have learned is that if we bring this back to marketing, what I have learned in my outrage about this Easter egg situation is that in actual fact, the more you have Easter eggs on display, the greater the incremental sales. So it is very much a case of if you buy chocolate in advance of Easter, you are highly likely to consume it. So
Before
therefore,
Easter, and then you buy more.
exactly. It's just extending the usage occasion. I mean, I'm personally sad about the fact that we don't have these set moments in time seem to last forever. But I get it from a retail strategy. So there you go.
Yeah. Soon the hot cross buns, and then we go to Halloween, and then we go to Christmas. And we just cycle through those three things.
We'll be having Halloween in June at this rate. It'd be outrageous.
So what goes in between Easter and Halloween? What are the retail moments?
Okay. Ben, Valentine's Day first.
Valentine's, yeah, but that's sooner. That's before Easter.
It is. There's a Valentine's card sitting in my local dairy actually already. I'm tempted to buy it just for at the end of my driveway. Valentine's Day, King's birthday. Does that count?
Birthday.
What else is a retail moment?
It's not a shopping event.
No. Okay.
We'll get back to your audience.
We're having a dry spell between Easter and Halloween.
Good. So
okay.
What are we talking about this week?
Okay. So you and I are both relatively senior in our career. And I think one of the things that tends to come up a lot at this point is strategy. And I think fair to say, I meet a lot of younger people who are like, I just want to do strategy. And I get conflicted about this because strategy is 50% sort of having the experience to understand what strategic thinking looks like, because some of it is just time in the seat. But there are some tricks, I guess, to understanding the difference between strategy and tactics. And I think that's a really good one for us to dive into.
Yeah. And I think, strategy is, there's a definition of strategy, and strategy, it is a set of choices. It's not necessarily a document. A lot of people, refer to a strategy document. It's a set of choices that you make before all of the stuff happens in the year. It answers where you play and how you win, which is a reference to the Cascade of Choices, which is the full strategy document. And it creates focus, but it also creates trade-offs. And a lot of strategy is, if you choose where to play and how to win, you also choose where you're not going to play. And I think that's where strategy is actually powerful, is deciding not what not to do. And that is one of the key premises. And I think a lot of people think about strategy and they think about direction and the activities that they're going to do. But knowing what you're not going to do before everything happens is just as important.
Yeah, and to be really clear, your strategy is not your media plan.
No,
for example, or your email campaign. That is 100% not your strategy.
It's also not your vision statement. It's not your goals and targets. It's not your plans and roadmaps. Yeah, it's not tactics, as you say, but it is that defining document that says this is where we're going.
So shall we start with? And I've got some clear views on this, but I'm keen to hear your thoughts on it too. Let's say you're starting out in your career, or you're sitting there and you're like, okay, where do I start with strategy? Step one. What would you do?
So I would read strategy. And I think that's one of the best ways. Looking at good strategy and studying brands that have good strategy is important. And I think the other thing is that when we talk about strategy, and this is a marketing podcast, so we're talking about marketing strategy. Okay. Marketing strategy is a part of the larger business strategy. And I see it all the time where marketers will create a marketing strategy without even referencing their business strategy, which leads to all sorts of problems. But essentially my advice to marketers is, know your business strategy and talk to the people that understand it. This is typically coming from the CEO and from their strategy team, if they have one. And then it normally gets filtered down through finance, who kind of put
Take all the money.
they decide, okay, if this is our strategy, this is where we're going to invest, and then eventually marketing gets to have a say. But at the same time, a good marketer or a marketing leader will have input into the business strategy as well. So it's not just
Yeah.
about accepting the business strategy and creating your marketing strategy. The hope would be that your senior marketers are a part of that business strategy planning and focusing on, where to play, how to win.
That's exactly right. And so I mean, I probably had some lived experience with this last week. I was away doing annual strategic planning for a business. And that's exactly right. And this particular business has got product in Australia and New Zealand and is looking to expand into the US. Now, as a marketer, I need to understand what choices do I need to make in terms of media spend, and am I doing acquisition? Am I brand building, which potentially you are if you're entering into a new country, or am I defending my market share in where we currently have got quite a lot of market share, and that's driving a lot of the business. So I think you're right, and depending on the size of the business, will largely determine, I suppose, how much say a marketer has in the total business strategy. So, and
No, I don't think so. I think if marketing is established, and maybe I think it's more a factor of, is the marketer at the at the top
at the
table? I
table,
think, yeah,
yeah,
that's the main
and
thing. I don't think it
yeah,
matters how big or small a company is. I mean, I guess some small companies, the CEO is the marketer, so it's kind of one and the same. But my hope would be, if there are marketing people in a company, no matter what the size, they should have some input into the strategy.
I agree they should, but I've seen it happen where they don't. First and foremost, I would say, and you're right, and I think the next thing is the love of God. If you've been asked to do a marketing strategy, and if you haven't been involved in a seat at the table, ask to at least understand, what does the business need to achieve. Are we holding flat this year? Are we expecting a 20% growth? And if we are expecting 20% growth,
Yeah, I think
where
that
is that
though is
coming from?
that's the more tactics. So the business strategy really defines who the company serves. So who is the customer?
Yeah,
Like, which part of the market are we serving? How it makes money. So what are the inputs for the products, and how much do we sell it for? What is our margin? Where it competes and where it doesn't. So it could be competing in certain towns or certain parts of a country, or it could be competing in certain stores. So maybe it's in Coles but not Woolies. It might be in Bunnings,
yeah, yeah.
and what success looks like. So I guess that's setting it at,
And that's your
this is the
outcome, right?
overall, yeah, the
Yeah.
overall revenue. And so then how that translates into marketing. So marketing then takes who the company serves and develops the target segments and priority customers,
How to reach them.
and how to reach them, the messaging, the channels, the experience. But they should also be working on what the value proposition is and the positioning of that. And I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of marketers that don't really touch product anymore.
No, and
And I
really
think that's a key
understanding.
skill.
Yeah,
Mm.
I agree, because and actually understanding why your company exists and why your product exists and the reason that it's different, and who it's appealing to. I mean, so I'll take a step back too, and I think, one of the key things for strategies is we should spend more time in diagnosis, right? So really understanding who you are as a business, but the market that you're playing in. So who's swimming in the same pool as you? And you talked about who your target customer or your target audience is. The amount of times people will say it's just everyone. It's everyone with a brain. And that means that, and it can't be, because your money's not going to go very far if you're trying to target
Mm.
everyone.
So, I mean, one question to ask is, what does a good marketing strategy look like? And I think it's having that deep understanding of a specific customer or of your customer, a clear positioning against alternatives. So that's really
Yeah.
knowing the competitive landscape. There's a lot of marketers, sadly, that don't know their own product, let alone what the competitors are offering. You should be talking to customers or having researchers giving you insights into those customers. You need to be trying your product. If
Yeah.
it is a
Is it
consumer
any
product,
good? Yeah.
yeah, fucking use the product. I mean, I can't also believe, I think if someone has to market a product, I think B2B is is maybe a bit of an exception. But if it's a consumer product, the expectation is you should have used it, you should have consumed
Yeah.
it, you should have tasted it, you should know where it sits on the shelf, you should know how it sits, you should know also the decisions that people make when they're choosing your product and why they choose you over a competitor.
Yeah.
But it also looks like consistency. So a good marketing strategy doesn't change every year. Maybe it
No.
tweaks, maybe there's a few adjustments and some learnings, but it doesn't. It's not a wild
By
reform every year.
by
And
definition, your strategy is designed to set that it's like it's the North Star, right? Like it's the here is where we want to end up ultimately, and this is what we stand for. So what your company stands for or what your brand stands for, and where it's positioned in the market. And I think we've talked a little bit about positioning previously. That doesn't change. It's the market conditions might change. You might get a new competitor who comes in and shakes things up a bit. In the alcohol space, Pals came in and really changed the game, and the market looked quite different. But your strategy should still remain the same. The tactics that you employ year on year. And if you're in a business that's asking you to do a strategy every year, I'd be asking some questions.
well, yeah, I think you need to look at the strategy every year and then let that inform the goals. But yeah,
Yeah.
you're not changing it. And I think a good strategy also looks like not a whole lot of campaigns, but a few campaigns done better. And I think that really signifies a good brand where they have their 3 layers of campaigns and they're
Mm.
really consistent. And it's not like they've got a campaign for each of their product lines and businesses. It's like a really nicely thought out campaign structure that
I
layers up to that strategy.
I fundamentally, and I couldn't agree with you more. And I like that whole less is more, and the amount of businesses I've worked with that obviously they say this is a really big thing. Like, let's do, fewer, bigger, better, let's do less. I see it so often. And I wonder partly if this is because people just like to feel like they're doing that. Like it's easy to go, oh, just got the email campaign out. And I just like I've done this thing. And I wonder if we get this false sense of achievement by doing lots of things all of the time and it is hard to say no. I don't know, that's been my experience. Do you see that?
I think it's part of the human condition. It's not unique to marketing. It's everyone. Everyone in the business can be busy. And my take is you
Yeah.
either decide your strategy and direction or you have it decided for you. And so you're either setting your own course or you're at the mercy of your inbox.
Yeah,
And
I
it
agree.
and it and it takes real, personal leadership to set that strategy personally and for the company.
Yeah. And your look, and just to be really, really clear, your strategy is your plan. That is the I guess in doing it.
It's not the plan. It's the principles that you create your plan from.
Yeah, exactly. But it's
Yeah.
what it's not is a list of social media
Actions.
posts and
No, no, it's definitely not that.
definitely not that. Um I don't what and let's go back to that point earlier around it's not the other thing to be really clear is that it's not a 60-page document sitting in a drawer because where strategy doesn't work is when nobody really knows what the strategy is. So
Mm.
there can be a lot of thinking and data that goes into developing the strategy and I believe that it should be data led, but there should also be elements of it that are simply understood and like you say but boiled down to 3 key things that we're trying to achieve.
Well, if we think about strategy on a page, the Cascade of Choices is a great way to articulate it for everyone on a page. So
Yeah,
the cascade is essentially 5 steps. So at the top you have what is the ambition, and this is why does the brand exist? What does winning look like? And then underneath that you've got where will we play, which
yeah.
is markets, categories, customers, geographies. Under
Choices,
that
yeah,
is choices. Under that is how we're going to win. So, what is different about the brand? What's their advantage? Why should customers choose us? And then below that, you get into the real kind of operational businessy things, which is which capabilities do we need? And then at the bottom, which management systems support that? And so, really, the part that marketing plays is where will we play, which is markets,
yeah,
categories, and customers, and how will we win, which is our differentiated advantage. So you can put all of that on a page, and maybe it's 60 pages of supporting documentation, but
yeah.
you should be able to put your business strategy on a page and your marketing strategy as well.
Yep. And often, if you're managing teams, it's really important to ensure that there'll be other people potentially executing the strategy. So taking
Mm,
people on that journey with you and making sure that it's shared. I know when I was at Lion, for example, we would do a brand strategy, but you've got other people who interlock with that. So you've got shopper and you've got retail, and you need to make sure that you're working cohesively with other people to execute on that strategy, and that people kind of understand what that ultimate goal is.
mm. And I think a lot of people think that marketing sits at the top of the cascade, and in fact, it really doesn't. So it really sits in that middle towards the bottom. And marketing's role with this strategy is helping define where to play through customer insight. And this is where
Mm,
customer insight, we need to be consuming it regularly, but this is where customer insight really comes into play, and it sharpens how to win through both positioning and the value propositions. And so that builds and scales the capability of the brand, of demand, and the experience as well. So marketing informs strategy, and they should be part of that process,
mhm.
but it doesn't replace strategy. And I think to your point earlier, when the top of the cascade is unclear, um, that's when things really fall apart, because there are some
Yeah,
businesses that don't have that top figured out, and then marketing has to guess, and this is where you
yeah.
see random campaigns
Oh
and
my
channel
gosh.
hopping and
Yep.
constant repositioning, because there is no ambition. The business hasn't defined why they exist and what winning looks like.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think that happens more. Oh, it happens relatively commonly, which is you go, oh, let's just do a meta campaign. Okay, great. Hang on a
Yeah.
minute, it's been
For
four
what?
weeks. Yeah,
Yeah. For
uh,
who?
it
Yeah.
hasn't worked. Oh, hang on a minute, shit, we better pull that out. That didn't work. Okay, well now obviously we missed a beat. We must be going on TikTok now. Let's give TikTok a go. Yeah, and I know that it can be really hard to push back sometimes in businesses. We can sit here and say this is the best way to do it, and it can be really hard when someone's going, "I just want to see, we've got to reach 1 million people, and the best way to do that is meta." So, yeah, to really land that point, if it's not laddering up to something, maybe ask some
Mm.
questions.
And I mean, there are some great examples. I mean, I've got some examples of brands in Australia and the US, that I've worked with, that are doing really well. So I think Bunnings is one of those clear
Mm,
leaders, really clear focus on DIY and home improvement. They compete on range, like massive range. They're the price leader, and they really have that helpfulness. And I've seen a lot of their recent content really focusing on how helpful the Bunnings staff are. There's also a lot of really good comedy around that as well.
but it's been the same. Like if you think about Bunnings as an example, you talked about consistency earlier and being
Mm,
continuously consistent. We have seen pretty much the same message from Bunnings over a decade, I would say, at
yeah,
least. Like
and
I can't
everything
even tell you.
reinforces that same promise. And I think,
Yeah,
they're not distracted by shiny new marketing trends. Like they
yeah,
are leaning into new channels, and they're using influencers really well, and they're using social really well, and they use humor. They lean into the Ocker Aussie,
yeah,
um, and they're true to the brand. And I think that's what good strategy looks like. It's not
yeah.
knee jerk. It's building. These brands are built over decades.
Yeah, and look, I mean, it's great to be aware of what your competitors are doing, right? So if we think about the Mitre 10 Bunnings example, awesome. Be aware of what they're doing, track what they're doing on their pricing. Like, they might bring out a new ad. Don't change. Like you are who you are. Look and
Mm,
act like yourself and market and stay the course. Yeah, because that positioning piece is a really key part of maintaining your strategy. Um, I could think of an example of a brand that I think has been slightly confused lately.
okay.
Interesting, given that I was in there the other week, the warehouse for me has felt like it has chopped and changed a little bit.
Mm. Without that consistency. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I mean, I like the warehouse. It does have value. It has faced stiff competition.
Yeah, agreed.
So Kmart, I mean, Bunnings as well, Chemist
Like,
Warehouse now, like,
yeah.
this is a really competitive space. And, if if the warehouse took a leaf out of Bunnings' playbook, they would lean into the Kiwiness, into Kiwis and what Kiwis want. I think they are, they are a good brand. I'm not sure they know what they stand for. Like, I'm not sure why would you go to the warehouse? Like, I know why I go to Bunnings. I know why I go to Kmart.
Yeah.
Arts, crafts, candles, stuff like that, and their
All the
homewares.
candles.
And now, I mean, now we've got IKEA in as well, which
Yeah.
is, taking all of that furniture. I mean, why, what is the warehouse's value proposition?
I know.
There's great prices.
I've spoken to a few people about this because I sort of, I've been quite interested because I really want the warehouse to succeed. Um, and one of my origin stories is when I started my business, the warehouse was in the news for not doing particularly well, and that was 2 years ago. And I don't think that that's changed. But
Mm,
there's been a lot of commentary around how Kmart exited New Zealand and
mhm,
had to re-enter the market and completely rebuild their positioning again, right? And
mm,
they've done an excellent job, in my opinion, of picking a couple of categories and consistently executing well in
mm,
categories. So, and you talk about candles, and I think homewares would be one of their biggest. Apparently, clothing is their biggest category, actually.
mm,
Whereas I wonder, and it's just a hypothesis, and it's just my opinion. I do wonder if the warehouse has sort of gone. We're being attacked from all sides and picking and choosing, and there's been multiple different brand campaigns, and I haven't seen a consistent thread going through that. Who else do you think is doing a good job, Ben?
Yeah, so speaking of the warehouse, I think Chemist Warehouse really does well. So Chemist Warehouse has been a great Australian brand for a long time. They recently entered the New Zealand market,
Mm.
and the warehouse, it's chaotic. Like, going in there, it's like all noise. The shelves are like so close together, like you can barely get to, like, you can't pass someone down that aisle. It's
No.
so they cram it in, and it's loud, and the shelves are crowded, and there's people everywhere. But it's a great strategy. So they're really playing into the mass market health and beauty. They have literally everything. Really value
Yeah.
conscious consumers. They've got the pharmacy at the back. Similar to the supermarket strategy. You put your bread and milk at the back. You put your pharmacy counter at the back. I think they were doing free scripts as well, even when the government was charging
Mm.
$5. So they're playing all the cards to get people to walk through. And what I like most about them is that they have great opening hours. A
Yeah.
lot
But
of
yeah.
a lot of pharmacies are only open, on the high street and working hours, and it's just not great. So they've definitely come in. They've taken huge market share. I think
Oh
everyone
my
was
God.
worried coming in, the pharmacy chains, but also some of the department stores, because they will be taking share from farmers and the warehouse, and anyone that's selling cosmetics, and even some grocery. I mean, they've got
Definitely grocery. I
razors
can.
and
Yeah.
yeah,
I can tell you
100%.
that there's some stats that have come out from Woolworths, and supermarkets are in a bit of trouble in some respects too, actually, because they're actually losing people in all sorts of specialty products
Mm,
from all parts of the grocery shop, and health and beauty is one of them. And Chemist Warehouse has 100% impacted the retail sales of supermarkets. And I love your point around the extra hours, because actually what that also says to me is really understanding shopper behavior and the need state of people when they need to pick up all of those items. By making yourself that available, you get the incremental purchase or the last minute, quickly I need to get my script, or I need to do X, Y, and Z. I do find it a hugely frustrating shopping experience. Have you ever walked in there and gone to the right aisle at the first time?
no, I have no idea where it is. The wayfinding is not great, but maybe that's
No.
on purpose as well. The more products you walk past, the more you're likely to buy. And they also split categories as well. Like, you've got half the moisturizers here and half the other side, and yeah, it's a bit.
Oh, I hadn't noticed
It's,
that. Now you're gonna make me notice.
well, I think they also have different categories. Like, they have so much there. So they've got high end, they've got middle, and they've got low. They've got something for everyone. You can't fit the whole moisturizer market, and obviously in one aisle. There's too much. There's too, and yeah, I'm very impressed, and I'm a big fan. Yeah, and they're typically always in stock, which is another sign of good retail. Is
Yeah.
you have good stock management.
Which is the opposite to a Briscoe's strategy, I might add, because that's Briscoe's in Rebel Sport. You can never find a size M in anything in a Rebel Sport. Just just saying.
So
Yeah, so you go.
So another brand that I love, probably the best brand that I've worked for, would be American Express.
Mm,
And American Express, people know it by the cards, but technically it's not actually a payments company, that it's a membership brand. And I think this is
yeah.
where American Express have really overtaken MasterCard and Visa, and MasterCard and Visa are now kind of copying the American Express playbook, but they're targeting that high value customer, not everyone, although, they have in their time tried to capture the the medium to low value customer. They're
Oh, yeah.
focusing on lifetime value on all the cards you have a member since year, which shows that longevity. They have a closed loop system, which means that they both the card issuer and the merchant, so they can see both sides of the transaction, which makes their data really powerful. And
Ah,
their premium position allows higher fees and makes people more loyal as well. So, how is that part of what are the marketing implications of that strategy? It's benefits and experiences over discounts. So they don't have to play the
yeah.
discount game, and great brands, are working on the value rather than the price.
Yeah.
Their consistent emphasis on service, trust, and status, and they also have a really good small business focus. So promoting small and local businesses as well. So yeah, working for them was amazing. Like their values and their strategy worked through that whole. Everyone knew what the purpose was. Everyone knew what the values were, and that brand is amazing, and it's done
Yeah.
so well.
Question, though, do you because I feel like American Express's market share has declined, and it's gone through a period of time where we don't accept Amex, we don't accept Amex. Is that my perception, or is that something that has happened to American Express?
No, they're growing. They
Yeah.
were number one in America, but acceptance is now coming into so in Australia it's extremely widely accepted.
Yeah.
Probably not so much yet in New Zealand, but again, maybe New Zealand isn't a high value customer, so maybe it's not part of their strategy. Yeah, so I think they focus on the larger markets, but a lot of the
Mm,
way that they get penetration into merchants was actually their corporate card program. So they would
yes.
give corporates these sweet deals and great points, and basically, if you didn't accept Amex, you weren't getting that corporate card business. So very quickly, especially in restaurants and hospitality, everyone signed up for Amex, because if you didn't take it, then you lost the business of Microsoft, or you lost the business of Google,
Yeah.
because, if you wanted to have a cut, you had to accept their card.
That's actually a really smart business play. I like that rather than going, it's harder to get a lot of individual people to sign up at small amounts, much easier to get a corporate. So yeah, completely
Mm.
makes sense.
Yeah. So, yeah, strategy isn't about being clever. And I think a lot of people think, oh, strategy,
Mm,
you have to have an MBA. I mean, an MBA helps, but, you don't have to, it's not about being smart. It's about being clear and consistent. And I think, I've
yes.
worked in strategy, in business strategy, as well as marketing strategy. But yeah, everyone can do strategy. It's not reserved for the CEO and the CMO.
No.
Anyone at any point in their career can get involved in strategy, and it's important. Even if you're not working in strategy, being able to read the strategy documents and understand what the business and marketing strategy is going to make you better at your job, no matter what level you are.
Yeah. And I think the most important thing for anyone who's kind of starting out in a business or starting out in their career, just ask lots of questions. I think be the person that just sort of goes, the business is trying to achieve this, but why? Tell me, like if it's not written down, it's helpful to have an understanding and ask and be curious and ask the questions, because that is how you develop thinking. Even if you're not quite at the level of developing the strategy yourself, but at least you're asking the questions and asking why.
Exactly. Yeah. So if your strategy, at the end of the day, if your strategy doesn't make your marketing simpler, it's probably not a strategy.
Yeah, it's probably just a bunch of social media posts. So
Good.
next week, Ben,
Next week. next week we do have an episode next week. So next week we are doing
It's Steph's choice. Steph made it up.
Challenger brands versus market leaders. David versus Goliath.
Does having more money make you better?
Brilliant. Yeah, I like it. Does more money make for better marketing?
But also, I think like one of the things to unpack here to dive into will be, are there different tactics and marketing approaches if you're a challenger brand versus someone who's really established, like a Coca-Cola versus a Pepsi, for example? And what does the playbook look like if you're a challenger brand versus, the market leader?
Brilliant. I love it. Let's fight it out.
Sounds good. All right. Well, have a wonderful week, Ben.
Thanks. Have a good weekend. Thanks, everyone. Can the Marketing Podcast is brought to you by Q Marketing and Human Digital. Our editor is Bruna Barbosa. New episodes drop weekly, so tell your friends and colleagues.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you follow and subscribe to Canned wherever you listen. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and if you want the full visual experience, check us out on YouTube.
See you next week.